Hello, awesome people. I hope you're having an awesome day. So, today I'm here with two of my friends, Will and Skylar, and we'll be talking about sports and basketball in particular. So, Skylar, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Skylar. I play piano, and I also like playing basketball with my friends, and I also eat a lot.
Okay, Will.
Yeah, hi, I'm Will, and I love playing basketball.
Okay. So, first of all, Skylar and I were both girls playing basketball, so we like to start this conversation with talking about I guess gender inequality or how it's different for girls that play basketball and the challenges that you might face being a girl that's playing a male-dominated sport.
I feel like a lot of people have come to me and talked about how girls are less strong than boys, and sometimes in mixed basketball they feel that they are not they can't perform as well when they're playing with boys. So sometimes they also prefer playing girls basketball first.
Yeah, and I feel like being a girl sometimes you don't get the ball as much, even though they would choose you. They would choose to pass to guys that are not their experience that might have played I don't know 2 games or 3 games versus they just don't want to pass to a girl. I feel like, yeah.
I agree with that. Yeah,
Yes.
I see that happening a lot, and they just pass people who are new to the game, rather than people who are more experienced but female.
Yeah. So, so what do you think are the challenges for you playing basketball?
Wow, that's a good question. For me, playing basketball, I think the main challenge is just trying to play up to what people expect of me, because obviously I'm 6'3". People think I'm gonna play really well, so if I underperform, then obviously he will be very upset with me. So yeah, it's kind of tough.
Yeah, because I hear people yell at you when you don't score every single basket and they expect you to score every single basket just because you're tall. And sometimes you miss against much smaller players. So what do you think? Do you think they should just shut up about all the criticism or what?
I think they think so highly of me because I try to play to the best of my abilities. So if I don't go as hard as I possibly can, then that's when I play under what people expect. So I don't know. I just feel like I just need to practice more, and I should be able to make those.
But when you do your best when you play, sometimes you injure very small people. What do you think of that?
Oh yeah, that's true. I mean, it's just part of the game. It happens, You can't really avoid injury. Especially when I'm playing against people half my size. It's kind of tough.
Yeah, and I kind of get it because us as girls sometimes, it's a little uncomfortable when we play mixed basketball and boys. They sometimes touch if they touch your chest or they touch your stomach or anything like that, they get so uncomfortable. And honestly, I don't care. As in, unless it's intentional, I don't really care.
And sports accidents happen sometimes the boys feel very embarrassed, but it's just sports.
I feel like, that kind of guarding is just, it comes down.
Yeah. If you're guarding a player, you're gonna touch them. It's fine. Unless it's intentional, I don't really care. Sometimes they feel so bad, they'll apologize. They'll keep apologizing even after the game. And honestly, the apologizing makes it worse.
Yeah.
The apologizing is the uncomfortable part. So, yeah. So, what do you think about all of that, about the defense and boys guarding girls and when we're playing mixed basketball?
I feel like it's all right because sometimes us girls we touch boys on accident as well, and we do apologize. But sometimes if you keep apologizing, it just extends the embarrassment, and people remember it better, and it just gets really, really awkward.
If you push me by accident and you say sorry, then I'm over it. I'll just keep playing. I don't care. But if you keep saying sorry, then I'll have to keep
thinking about it.
Yeah, thinking about it. So yeah, that's annoying. So okay, moving on. So if we're talking about sports, what would you say motivates you the most to play your sport or to play any sport in particular?
Actually, it is my friends, because without my friends, I actually don't play basketball. Like, I'm not even joking. There's no motivation, right? Sometimes, remember, I think it was a month ago, we were practicing like every single day after school.
Yeah.
But then I think we stopped for a day, and I just didn't practice basketball anymore until
Yeah.
we had like games or stuff.
Yeah. For me, I feel like it's just watching other people play and seeing them play so well. It just makes me feel like I could be better. And I'm very competitive, so I'm always trying to improve and be better than everyone else.
Yeah, and like another point I was gonna make is that like what do you guys do when like because like for me sometimes I play a lot and I don't see any improvement and it's kind of disappointing. So how do you guys deal with that?
What I do is I kind of track my progress over maybe 6 weeks, let's say. I'm trying something new. And if it doesn't work, then it's time to move on to something. But generally, if you don't track your progress, then it can seem like you're not making progress, even though you are. It's just slowly. So yeah, that's what I do. I just track it, make sure that the first day, if it's any difference from week 6, and then I can keep going, and I know it's gonna work.
Yeah. So for you, Skylar?
I think sometimes when you practice and you're not doing very well, maybe it's just a day or two, but then if you keep messing up and not doing well, you feel discouraged and not motivated. Sometimes you just need to take a little time off basketball. But then when you come back, I just make progress again.
And I think for sports generally, like for girls especially, if we practice the same amount of times that like if we spend the same amount of time on the sport as a guy and we do the same exact drills, like the rate that we improve is significantly slower than the boys. So sometimes we feel very discouraged, like because I've been playing since year 6 and I've seen guys that started playing like 2 weeks ago and they're a lot stronger than me, so they score a lot more points. And so it's kind of discouraging. Like, I don't know if you feel the same.
Yeah.
So, like, how do you like deal with that? Like, how do you like motivate yourself to, even when like you're dealing with guys that start playing like very recently and are already like what you can call better than you? So, like, do you feel discouraged at all, or?
I feel like sometimes it is, I do, but I just choose to practice with people who are similar level first. So if they're a little bit worse than you, then you can test out moves on them and stuff. But if they're a little bit better, you can still learn from them. And then that's how I keep improving, instead of just having that mindset of, oh, they started later than me, but they're so good already.
Yeah, and I feel like generally just being like a girl playing basketball is already like huge because like sometimes like I'm expected to like I don't know do ballet or like do gymnastics because like that's what I was forced to do when I was younger, and like I found a sport that I actually like, and that's like football and basketball. So I feel like it's very important to find the sport that you enjoy and to find the balance between your life and like when you should be doing other things and when you should spend time on your sport and not to like overwork yourself.
Yeah. That's definitely important to that. Yeah, I agree with you.
Okay. So, next, I wanted to talk about shooting slumps, if you know what I mean. And I don't think, Will experiences a lot of shooting slumps because he doesn't shoot a lot, just because he's tall and he mostly lives in the paint. But, Skylar and I were smaller players, so we'll generally shoot more, and we live around the semicircle, the 3-point line. So, okay, so what do you think, like, because I know you're experiencing like a similar one right now where like nothing is like really going for you. So how do you like manage that and how do you like keep it from like not discouraging you as much and to keep going?
Honestly, I haven't been practicing much right now, so maybe that's why I'm having a shooting slump. But it also relates to injuries. I mean, sometimes you get injured and you don't get to practice. You don't get to spend time on basketball. And sometimes you call it you lose your shot. But it doesn't... I don't feel as discouraged if if I lose my shot, I mean, I just try and get it back.
Yeah, like I was talking to you yesterday, and I think like the difference between like what I told you yesterday, the difference between like good shooter and a bad shooter is that a good shooter keeps shooting even after they miss. And so I think the biggest part about getting better is just to keep going. Like after you miss, just keep shooting, because everyone's gonna miss once in a while. You just have to keep shooting and to keep that confidence up. And sometimes you're gonna have off days, and during off days you're just gonna have to keep going and to keep shooting.
Yeah. How about you, Will? How do you deal with your off days?
I just feel like you need to always be practicing more. If you practice right and you keep doing it, then you'll definitely improve. So if you just keep going at it, then there's no doubt that you'll succeed.
Yeah, and something else I want to talk about is that I know you guys are like you guys have like mocks and GCSEs soon, and we had like examinations like these few weeks. So how do you guys deal with that? Because personally for me, like I find it hard to adjust between like studying and like my own free time plus basketball, and like balancing all three components in my life. So how do you guys like manage all of that?
It's just balancing between work and life. Well, obviously during exam week, most people are focusing on studying, and I am too. It's just that sports in general help me de-stress. So if I just spend a bit of time on sports during exam week, it really helps me sometimes to not be as stressed.
Yeah, I feel like you need to plan out what your definition of a like productive day is, so that you can get your studying done, and then you can focus on things that you want to do. So that, because otherwise you always feel like you're not doing enough. So if you just put out, this is what I'm gonna do, this is what is gonna be productive for me, that's all you need to do, and you will feel much more productive, and you won't be so stressed about it.
Yeah, obviously grades are important, but your mental health is important as well.
Yeah.
Because if you're stressed, you can do nothing well or the best you can.
Yeah, and I feel like sometimes when you're too stressed, you can't even function well. Like the studying won't help. Like
You kind of just read the words off the page.
yeah,
Going
yeah.
there.
Like the last if my test is like this afternoon, like there's no point in really like studying. Like the most I can do is like revise, but then I can't really like I see people doing like last minute revision, and sometimes they're just basically like shoving all the knowledge in their head, and
Yeah.
I just feel like it doesn't really work because they're too nervous anyways. And like especially like subjects like maths, like at that point, like you've done everything you can, like you can't really learn that much from like the last few hours before the exam. Like
Yeah, if you're revising, like if you're at a point where you're revising right before the exam, where like you're learning new things right before the exam, you've already failed. If you're learning new ways to, like new formulas, things you didn't understand before, let's say like 5 minutes before the exam, you already failed.
yeah, like it doesn't make sense to be revising at the end of the the entire like procedure and all of the mocks and everything just before the actual exam. You're just like revising. Then I think like by the end, the last few hours, it's just like getting yourself mentally in that space, in that zone where you can perform well and where you're not too nervous, you've got enough sleep and all that, and not like shoving yourself with like more knowledge that you didn't know like 10 minutes ago. I mean, it's just obviously too late if you're learning new stuff 5 minutes or 10 minutes before like the exam starts. Yeah. So the last thing like I want to talk about is how do you guys like adjust like play? Do you guys have any preferences while like playing in school, or like adjusting to playing outside of school, or playing like in school tournaments, inter-school tournaments, or like not professional leagues, but like competitive like sports outside of school and like in school? Like how do you guys
I think,
do with that?
yeah, I prefer playing as like part of the school team, because when you go against other teams, then you can really show, like competitively, you can show how good you are. And playing in school is just very familiar, and it feels very comfortable.
I mean, playing against other school teams, you can see the difference between you and them. But at the same time, when you play with people that you're familiar with, they can give you advice on what you're like. They know you better, and they can give you advice on what you need to work on and what you're already doing well.
But I think if you're playing like in a higher league, especially Division 1, there's bound to be people that are better than you and people that you can learn from. And that's just how you can get better. You just have to play with people that are better than you, and you can learn how they play and what they do and how they think.
Yeah. And like speaking of that, like how do you deal with like bad losses in basketball? Like you can call it embarrassing, but personally I don't think it's that embarrassing. But if it's like a blowout or you're losing by like a lot, like how do you deal with that? Like because I know some people, they just tend to like give up or like just like
Feel embarrassed.
Yeah, like feeling embarrassed. But like, Will, how do you deal with that? Especially because you're in Division 1.
Yeah, I'm very used to that. I think our team, most of our players just started this year. I think there's about 2 or 3 players that have played for more than 3 or 4 years. I think we went on a 7-loss streak and we won no games. So I don't know. It's kind of tough, but at the end, you just have to realize that you just have to keep going, and you have to try to improve and try to be better than you were last game, and see how you failed and where you failed.
Yeah, and I think like playing in like a league sometimes, I don't know if you've experienced it, but you might be in a team where you're like the worst player there, or in a league where you're the worst team. Like for me, I've a few years ago I joined this basketball team where I was like the only girl there with like 30 other boys, and I was the worst one. Not like I was the only girl, and I was also the worst player there, and it was kind of embarrassing because some of them were a lot younger than me. But you just kind of like learn from it. Even though I did like quit the team like a few months later, but I did give it a try. I just like figured out that wasn't like, I just didn't feel like I could continue playing there. But I mean, Skylar, do you have like a similar experience?
I don't think I joined an actual team. I think I have outside of school. Yeah. I wouldn't say I was the worst, but I was definitely one of the worst players in the team. I had this really, really goofy shooting form, and I could not dribble at all. And
How long ago was this?
I think it was when I first started basketball, and yeah, and when my mom wants me to join, like, I don't know, some random basketball team outside of school. But I think a year ago I switched to like a new team outside of school, and I figured that I did improve throughout. When I was in the first team that I joined, I improved because I learned stuff from people who were better than me, and that did not discourage me. So
Yeah, same with me as well. Because when I first started, everyone had already been playing for at least a year. So I even like just 6 months ago, I was still chest passing to shoot, and I
just true.
Yeah, continue.
I had really terrible knowledge of the game.
Yeah.
But being with people who were more experienced, they taught me how to play better, and they encouraged me to use proper form and use my brain more. But if I would hang out with people who did the same as I did, just pass to the rim,
Yeah.
then I probably never have improved, and I probably would have been stuck in a slump forever.
Yeah. And like yesterday we were talking about like how do you get better at basketball, because one of our friends asked how we get better at basketball. So I think it's like a huge process, but like Will, you had some really good advice, so do you want to share that?
I just told him you should watch professional players and see, like, let's say you're looking at Jokic, you should look at how he creates space or how he gets to the rim. You should see each time you watch a game, look at the highlights and look at how they're moving the footwork, for example, or how you might think they're looking for what they're looking for. And each time just look for a different aspect in the player's game. If you're looking for if you're trying to improve your dribbling, look at some better dribblers like Kyrie. Just see how they dribble, and what they're doing. And if you keep focusing on a specific part of the game, then that's how you improve. You can't just expect to improve by just watching the game.
Yeah. And I think for me, the most important thing that like I told my friends, like if they start playing basketball, like the easiest thing you can do to just improve in basketball is to just like fall in love with the game, like fall in love with playing it, fall in love with like NBA. I don't know, but like because when you like the game, naturally like your entire life would revolve around it. Like your schedules would be adjusted to the point where you're just like talking about like when you're gonna train, when you're gonna like play for fun, and then when you turn on your laptop, the first thing you'll see is like basketball. And if you go to YouTube, it'll be basketball videos. If you go on Instagram, it'll also be basketball reels. So yeah, like if you just like fall in love with the game, then your entire life would basically be revolved around it, and naturally you won't be able to escape from it. And you just like if your life is, if everywhere you go you see basketball, naturally you're gonna get inspired and naturally you're gonna get better.
Yeah, because if you don't like something, there's no point in playing that sport. Cause
Like, there's no reason to get better if you don't want to get better. Like, what's the point in trying to get better if you don't even want to play?
Yeah, and like talking about that, I actually want to know like what are your reasons for playing basketball?
to get better.
To get better?
Yeah.
Like why? Do you want to get to a point where like do you just see like no end in sight? You just want to keep going until you're really, really, really good, or
Yeah.
like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And well,
I play because I'm really competitive. I want to win, and I want to beat my friends. I think.
Yeah,
What
it's also for
different?
the school team as well. Sometimes when you're playing against other schools and when you're playing in a team, you really want to beat the other school.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And before ending this, I want to talk about I want to end this in like a happier, more casual note. So let's talk about the NBA or the WNBA or basketball in general. I don't know because Skylar doesn't watch as much basketball, but I know Will and I, we both watch a lot. So, Will, do you want to start off? Like, do you have a favorite team? Do you have a favorite player? Or like, what are your thoughts generally?
Yeah, I support Giannis and the Bucks. He's just I don't know. He's just such a good person, and
Yeah.
he's so easy to fall in love with. It's unfortunate that they lost the Heat, but
Yeah.
the Heat could win the chip. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Maybe they lost to the best.
Yeah. For me, I started watching in year 6, but I wasn't really obsessed back then. But I started watching, and I think about sports, you just kind of like look at a team and then just choose it, and then you spend your rest of your life supporting that. And I chose the Lakers. I don't really know why. I just liked the colors. I guess in year 6, I liked purple, and I thought it was cool, so I chose the Lakers, and so I still support them now. But yeah, they're not doing the best, but they did pretty well from being like nearly out of the playoffs this year to going up to the conference finals. Like, yeah, no, that was embarrassing, but it was fine. Like, it just happened really fast, getting swept by the Nuggets, but they won like a series against the Warriors, so I'm fine with that. Yes. You? Skylar, do you watch the NBA or WNBA or anything like that?
I think I do sometimes. Sometimes I stay up and watch it with you.
Yeah, when I force you to.
Sometimes, yeah, but it's fun. It honestly depends on my friends. So like, if I hang out with you, then I'm supporting who you support. I'm just joking. But no, I don't.
Yeah, like when I wake you up at 3 a.m. to watch football with you on a school night.
I'm just like, what is this? Who is
Yeah.
this team? I don't even know football, but
Yeah. I play football a lot less, but then I watch football a lot more because I've had like a special connection to my team since I was in like year 2 or year 3. So it's been with me for so many years. And yeah, it's like all I can ever watch, but yeah. So last thing I want to talk about, Skylar, what are your thoughts on the WNBA?
it's really funny how, negative 10 billion?
10 million. Yeah,
billion,
they're
my bad.
losing money currently. Not great, but yeah. Like, I feel like, yeah, like they talk about the NBA, how the NBA should donate to the WNBA, but then like, in my opinion, it's a bit stupid because they're already donating, and like they just have to play at a higher level, or they have to find ways, like, because ultimately the WNBA is a business, they have to find ways to profit from it to keep the players from playing. Yeah. And like I watched the news of a few days ago, and one of the biggest news were like how they should think of like an expansion because they don't have enough teams, because like players are getting drafted just to get waived. Like, what do you think about that?
In the NBA?
WNBA.
No, I don't watch WNBA.
Oh my god.
No, what do you think about the news of like, do you think they should expand because there are not enough players, not enough teams to host all the players that are getting drafted?
I think they should make money first and then think about expansion.
Yeah, how do they do that though? Because
Because I'm gonna make money. If
yeah,
they're
I heard
already
about
out.
them like, because basically they just have to make more profit by getting more people to watch the WNBA. So how do they do that? Because I've heard about like dropping the rim down so they can dunk, and I've heard about like lowering like
Yeah, Shaq's a very big advocate for making the 3-point. There's a 3-point line
yeah
closer,
yeah
something like that.
They're already using a size 6 ball.
yeah like they're using a size 6 ball. It's a lot easier because naturally like
It's lighter.
biologically we're genetically very different from boys, and ultimately we're not as strong. But sometimes if you look at like the WNBA lowlights, they are pretty low. And like me as a girl, and I'm a huge advocate for like women's sport, but sometimes I'm watching the sport, I'm just like, oh, what the hell are they trying to do? But like ultimately I think like the WNBA does like inspire girls in general, but then the business itself, like they're not doing good enough. And obviously like I think WNBA has been here for like 26 years, and the NBA has been here for a lot longer.
Mhm.
And so I think there's a difference between like, I don't know, in 50 years the WNBA might be in another place that's like doing a lot better, like earning a lot more money, having a lot more viewers. So yeah. What like do you what do you think about like
I think the WNBA 3-point line should be closer to maybe high school 3-point line. Because right now it's kind of tough for people to make highlights from the 3, and it's really tough. Just like the biological differences, and yeah, I think the rim maybe like 9'6". I think those 2 changes can really make it more interesting, and the highlights much more better, and
Yeah.
ultimately drive more traffic to the
yeah.
business.
And like I think male players like for Will, I don't know, but a lot of boys have dreams of making it into the NBA. I don't know if you ever think about that, but a lot of boys do think about it. But then girls a lot less, especially girls that play basketball. Like, of course I've thought about making it to the WNBA, but it's not realistic for me. But then for boys, like even if they lived in the other side of the world from the NBA, they still think about making it to the NBA. And it's the same thing because like when boys think about the NBA, they think about making lots of money, being super famous, having people coming up to them, signing their shirts and stuff. But WNBA, you don't think about that. You think about barely making enough to like live in like an urban city. You think about like not having like a lot of fans and stuff like that, because that's what they were made out to be. So I don't know, like, do you think about making it to the WNBA or like?
I feel like it's mostly girls. When we say like, oh, what's your dream in terms of basketball, it's always like, oh, we want to beat the other school team. We want to beat the other school. It's not like a global international thing. It's always, oh, the other team is a bit better, but we're going to beat them. We're going to train. We're going to practice, and then we're going to get better and beat them. And that's literally it.
Yeah. I mean, I've obviously thought about going to NBA, but obviously it's not realistic. I'm not tall enough. And it's just not feasible for me.
Yeah, because like playing in Hong Kong, you can be like center because you're like in Hong Kong you're considered tall. But if you go to like the US, you'll be playing as a guard or like a small forward at best because their players are a lot taller. But then yeah, you can adjust to it if you ever do try and go to US and play basketball. Yeah. Do you have anything to add? No? Skylar, no. Okay. So as usual, before we end this, I would like to remind you, please reach out for help if you need it. Please talk to a trusted adult if you're feeling down or unwell. You can also call crisis hotlines, And if you're in an emergency, please call your local emergency services. Of course, you can talk to me for a chat or for some advice, but I'm not trained and not professional, so I would suggest talking to an adult or a professional in this area first. Please do not hesitate to seek help. Before we finish this, I would like to say thank you all for listening. And if you're listening on Spotify, you can add your suggestions, feedback in my Instagram bio. And also, I've started to share some tips and sharing some updates on my website and my newsletter. So please subscribe to that if you still haven't. And lastly, I've started preparing for an episode where I would read out confessions. Like I started a few months ago. So yeah, if you have anything you want to add to that, go to my website and you'll see it on one of the tabs. Yeah, that's it. And the last thing I want to talk about is that if you ever think about going on my podcast like this or going on one of my guest episodes, it's also on my website and you can sign a form and I will reach out to you through email. So yeah, I hope that helps. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you listen to my other episodes and hope you have an awesome day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah.